take can't keep going back to what I used to know. But please hold my hand as I go down this road.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Janice and I create faith-based content here on YouTube. I know it has been a while since I dropped a Faith Talks video, and this one right here really does hit home because this entire time I've been trying to surrender control over to God. So I feel like over these last few weeks, He has been helping me with releasing control. So I figured, why not help you guys too? I have a problem with win. Not W-I-N, but W-H-E-N. I didn't realize until my mentor called me out last year, and when she prophesied over me and she said, let go of the win. Yeah, I realized even in 2024, I have an issue of when. God, when is this gonna happen? When is this gonna happen? You gave me a vision and I don't see it happening. You gave me these dreams, these goals, and I don't see how or when it's going to come to pass. So God has been working on your girl with surrender. So there are some circumstances that have been happening in my life where I really needed to learn how to let go, how to surrender to God. All these problems, issues coming up, I really had to learn how to let go. So first thing first, we have to be honest with ourselves. How are we going to be honest with God if we're not honest with ourselves? If you're like me, subconsciously, I'm like, I don't be asking God when. Listen, I may not try to say it or think it, but I really do subconsciously. I really do be asking God, like, okay, when God? How God? How are you going to do this? So first thing first, you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with God. You have to admit, like, God, I need help with surrender. I need help with letting go. I need help with letting you control things. You have to admit that you are not in control. That ultimately God is the one who is in control. We don't always know what is best for us, but God does. His plans are so much bigger and better than our own. While we're asking God for help, it is so important to let go of your timeline. Let go of that, oh, I should be married by 25. I should have kids before I'm 30. Let go of your timeline. Because when you rely on your own timeline or society and what society tell you how you should be living by now, that's when disappointment comes in. This is why we get disappointed all the time, because we are going off of our own timeline, the world's timeline, and not God's. It is so hard to let go, but when we learn to let go, it helps us not to make mistakes along the way. Common mistakes of not letting go are we're actually in our own will and not God's. A delay can actually be a denial. We don't realize when we try so hard to hold on and follow our own will, we can be the one to block our own blessings. Just think, how many blessings have you blocked because you decided to try to take control versus just listening to God? We can cause more harm than good. Really create disappointment, and you really don't know who you are hurting along the way. The best story for that mistake is Sarah's. God told Sarah and Abraham that they were going to bear a child. Instead of waiting on God's timeline, Sarah decided to take matters into her own hands. To be honest, it caused unnecessary pain on herself. To watch another woman have your husband's baby. It caused confusion and hate on Hagar. All she did was do what Sarah told her to do. But yet Sarah ended up hating her and their child. Let go of your timeline. So bouncing off number 1, after you ask God to help with surrendering, that, you have to acknowledge that He is the one in control, not us. When you acknowledge that God is in control, it is not a one-time thing. It is a daily thing that you have to do. You have to die to yourself daily. You have to follow His guidance. Decrease so that He can increase. There is nothing wrong with having goals, but they do have to align to His will. Be so into God and His will that when the plan switch up, you won't switch up on God. You have to understand, when we try to control, that causes chaos, that causes anxiety, that causes worry, that causes doubt. But when we surrender, we get a peace past our own understanding. And when you surrender to God, you will realize that God can do more with our surrender than we can do with our control. Mindset is everything. You have to change your perspective. Instead of focusing on the how, or in my case, the when, let's focus on the who. Focus on who God is. Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, which means He will supply all our needs according to His riches and glory. He's Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. So if you are waiting on a healing, He's the one that's going to do it. Jehovah Shammah, He's the God who is there. He's already at your situation. So while you are so busy worrying, trying to figure it out, God has already worked it out. Remind yourself that by checking His track record. I bet if you go back a couple months ago, last year, there has not been a time that God has failed you. You may think He had failed you because it wasn't in your timeline, or it's because it wasn't in your will. But there has not been a time God has not come through for you. He came through for you for that last situation. There's no reason God would not come through for you in this situation. Whether it's a promise you're waiting on, whether it's financial trouble, whatever it is, surrender it. 1 Peter 5:7 lets us know to give all our worries and cares to God because He cares for us. So what are some practical tips that you can do to actually release and surrender? I started implementing prayer walks. As I'm walking, I'm releasing. And guys, I kid you not, my own testimony, I was worried about something financially. Before I started my day at work, I decided to pray and release. As I was walking, I was talking to God. I was releasing. I literally imagined myself releasing. As I took a step, I released everything I was feeling for that day. I kid you not. Not even an hour later, God sent my uncle to come through for me on a situation I was worried about. So prayer walks, honey, are amazing. You can literally, when you pray, literally imagine God standing in front of you and just giving Him a hug. Imagine yourself just kneeling down before Him and releasing it. My oldie but goodie, journal your feelings. I challenge you when your thoughts come up. I challenge you when those anxious thoughts come up. When you feel like the problems are too much, write it down. That's an oldie but goodie, but journal your feelings out. Journal what is making you anxious out to God. That is helping you to release it to Him. And like I said, it's a journey. So you're not going to get it right the first time. Keep on going. Capture those thoughts. And I guess a bonus thing is to find scriptures. Find scriptures that's going to help you release those anxious thoughts when they try to come up. Find the scriptures, combat those thoughts, and release it to God. Those 3 things have been such a blessing to my life these last couple of weeks. And I'm going to continue to implement those when I start thinking negative, or when I have anxious thoughts, or worry and fear tries to come over me, because God didn't give us those feelings. But God is the one to help us to get rid of those feelings. Well, that is enough for today's Faith Talks video. If you have any suggestions on how to surrender, any practical tips on how you surrender things over to God, leave them down below. You may never know, it could bless someone today. Well, in case nobody told you today, I love you. Most importantly, God loves you. And God's willing, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.